Hello, hello, hello. Happy spring. I love spring. It's almost spring. Spring officially begins on the spring equinox, which is, I believe, on March 21st this year. That is the day that, yep, it is on the 21st, which is a Friday. Um, Equinox means that it's equal amount of light and equal amount of dark. So we have the spring equinox where there's equal light, equal dark, and we have the fall equinox where there's equal light, equal dark. At the spring equinox, that is the moment where there becomes more light in a 24-hour window than dark. At the fall one, there becomes more dark in a 24-hour window than light. So as we step into this season of renewal, I want to talk about how fasting, the spring equinox, Lent, and Ramadan all connect. There's so many more traditions that fall into this category of traditions. But these are the ones that I am most familiar with. These traditions, though different, share a common theme, preparing the body and mind for abundance. Historically, fasting was a necessity before modern grocery stores and year-round food was available. But beyond necessity, it was and still is a really powerful tool for cleansing, resetting, and embracing renewal. Um, so as I mentioned already, the spring equinox marks the point where day and night are of equal length. From this moment forward, days become longer than nights, signaling the return of abundance. This is when the plants start growing again. It's when animals procreates, when chickens lay more eggs. It's when we get our fruits and our vegetables and all of our grains come back. So there is so much abundance to consume. Ancient people recognized this transition and prepared for it by fasting and cleansing their bodies. By doing so, they aligned themselves with nature cycles in a just really easy, beautiful, simple way. Before the arrival of fresh foods, fasting allowed for digestive rest, renewal, and healing. Different cultures and traditions have echoed this seasonal fasting practice. Native Americans had their own rituals. Christians observe Lent, and Muslims observe Ramadan. These periods of abstinence are not just about self-discipline, but they are deeply tied to cycles of scarcity, renewal, and spiritual reflection. Let's talk a little bit about the science of fasting and why we fast, which is for ketosis and autophagy. Um, Fasting has been kind of a trend lately. I know that for a while I was doing the 1 meal a day fasting, and by a while I mean like a couple of years, like maybe two. And it really messed me up. I was getting all this information about fasting and how good it was and how it gives your digestive system a break and blah, 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 blah from reputable sources. I mean, doctors, not just like random internet schmucks. So I had found a doctor named Dr. Courtney Hunt. She is a board certified OBGYN. She delivered babies for more than a decade. And when the babies and moms started getting sicker and sicker and sicker, she stepped back and was like, something is going on here. We need to address this. There's no reason for babies and moms to be this sick. So she started studying nutrition a little bit more. I signed up for a fasting course with her in December of, might have been 2024. No, it was December of 2023 because I've been practicing this for more than a year. But I took a fasting course with her to learn like what is actually going on from a doctor that she's put decades of her life into learning this material. And she wasn't like putting her name on any of it. This isn't the Dr. Courtney Hunt fast. She's not gatekeeping information. She gets online almost every morning and teaches about nutrition and our physiology. So she's not a gatekeeper. She doesn't want you to sign up for her $20 million course so you can learn. No, she's teaching for free every day. That stood out to me quite a bit. Right away in the fasting course, she said, she gave me a little math equation that clued me in on the fact that I was over fasting. I wasn't fasting appropriately. What I was really doing was just starving my body. So there is a difference between fasting and starving. And it's really important that you learn to feel the difference in your own body, because if you can tell the difference, then that's just the most powerful thing for you. She said, so 5 feet, if you're at 5 feet, you should be about 100 pounds. And of course, this equation applies differently to men and women that are in menopause versus like pre-menopause women. So this is just it's a guideline. So 5 feet is 100 pounds. Every inch thereafter you add 5 pounds. So if I'm 5'3", that's 100 pounds plus 15, because that's 3 extra pounds, 5 pounds per inch. That I think I just confused myself. But so my number was 115. If I don't weigh at least 115 pounds, I really shouldn't be fasting at all. And at that time, December of 2023, I did not weigh 115 pounds. And so very quickly I stopped my one meal a day fasting. I backed that up. I got a hormone test. There's a hormone called leptin it's one of the hunger hormones. But I wanted to see leptin should be between 4 and 10. And my leptin was 0.8. So I had harmed my body by starving my body, thinking I was fasting and doing all of this really good stuff for my body. So that's just a little bit of backstory. I don't really fast anymore. I did get up to my ideal weight before Christmas, and then I got sick and I was in the hospital with pneumonia and all this stuff. And I haven't weighed myself since then, but I feel healthier. I feel more built up. So let's talk a little bit more about the science of fasting. And I really encourage you to look into this yourself, figure out how you can learn the information. I'm not a doctor, but I have taken anatomy and physiology from three different colleges, and then I also took another anatomy and physiology when I was in massage school. So this isn't I'm not just leaning on high school biology. This is something that I've studied for a couple of years. Of course, not as in depth as like a board certified physician, but it's not new material. So just for a little background on me. So modern research confirms what our ancestors instinctively knew. Fasting has profound benefits for the body and mind. When we fast, our body switches from burning glucose for energy to burning fat for energy. We get glucose from eating carbohydrates, and also you can make glucose by consuming a whole bunch of protein. So if you're doing the carnivore diet, um, that like eating all of that protein breaks down into amino acids, and amino acids are used in gluconeogenesis, which is it's making glucose. So this is the ketogenic how to get into a ketogenic state is not by just eating meat. There's You'll just have to do your own research on that. This shift triggers ketosis and autophagy, two essential processes for cellular renewal and detoxification. Ketosis and autophagy, you could also use apoptosis as another word. This is cell death. It is self-cannibalism. It is self-eating. Auto means self, phagy means eating. This is when your body cleans itself up by eating itself. So this is when you're sleeping in a deep sleep and your body goes in and identifies all the immune cells that are damaged, gets rid of them. This is how you mend tissues and bones and just regenerate your body. So those words are really important: ketosis, autophagy, apoptosis. Fat cells store toxins, heavy metals, pesticides, pollutants, all of these are stored in our body's fat cells. And as you accumulate them, if you're not engaging in autophagy or apoptosis and your fat cells accumulate, all of the toxins are building up as well. As you get more and more fat cells that are laden with heavy metals and other pollutants, they start to send like alarm signals throughout your body. It's like the fire bell, like, hey, like something's going on. The more fat cells you accumulate, if you're just eating, like you're just consuming, you're not doing any of the other end of that spectrum. You're not fasting at all, or eating late at night, so you're not getting deep sleep because your body's digesting all night long. This is how, like, it's our little habits like that encourage the fat cells to continue to be there and continue to house all of these damaging things. And then as they build up, we get more and more alarm signals, and our body is just confused on how to deal with that. So it increases stress and it increases inflammation. When we eat carbohydrates, that is fruit, it is vegetables, it is rice, quinoa, grains of any kind, we our body prioritizes burning them for energy because it's easier. That's the easiest kind of energy that we can burn. So if you're doing the fruits and vegetables and grains, then anything that you don't burn right away, your body's going to store for later. It's going to store excess. Um, when we fast correctly, our body taps into that stored fat for fuel, which releases the toxins and triggers deep cellular cleaning. So if you're never ever burning fat for fuel, then you don't get to purge all of those toxins, all of those heavy metals, all of the pesticides and the pollutants. You never get to purge that out. Um, Carbohydrates also hydrate cells. It's in the name, carbos, hydrate. Um, they hydrate cells, including nerve cells. Nerve cells are made out of fat. I need to come back to my notes on this subject because I don't want to misspeak. Our neurons, nerve cells are made from cholesterol, fat. When we eat carbs, our nerve cells swell. So they're like overly hydrated, they're overly saturated. If you think about that, just think about a cell getting fuller and fuller and fuller. That becomes swollen, it becomes swelling, it causes inflammation, irritation, brain fog, poor memory, poor cognition. This is why, like, if you do a 1 day fast or you get sick and you don't eat for a couple days, like, you get less puffy. If you go, I remember when I worked at my parents' landscaping company, there are a couple people there that had like multiple Mountain Dews a day, and their faces were just so round and like fluffy. They were puffed up from all the sugar that is carbohydrates that is hydrating all of their cells. That's what, like, if they would have stopped their Mountain Dew for a week, it would have looked like they lost so much weight. Their face would have depuffed a little bit. Um, yes, I want to make sure I'm not glossing over anything. When we eat carbohydrates, our body chooses to burn those for energy. What we don't burn immediately, it stores. When we consume very few carbohydrates, our body has to switch from using glucose as energy to using fat as energy. When we use fat for energy, we are able to get rid of all of those harmful things stored in our fat cells. We begin to burn the fat plaque cells that are in our brains, in our blood vessels, in our heart. Um, your it cleans it all out. That's so important. All those like chunks of cholesterol that accumulate fat over the years because you're not burning through it. You're not using it, cleaning up the mess on aisle five. One good way for men to know if they are clean, if they have clean blood vessels, is in the morning. If they wake up, if they have an erection, then that's a good sign that their blood vessels are clean. Blood can get through there much more easily. If a man wakes up without a little bit of an erection, I don't know because I don't know what that feels like. Then that would be a sign that it's time to do a bit of a cleanup. As your body begins to dump the fatty acids from your fat cells, they go to your liver. When fatty acids, triglycerides go to your liver, that prompts your liver to produce acetoacetic acid and beta hydroxybutyrate. Um, this encourages the production of human growth hormone, which allows you to heal bone. Courtney Hunt, this doctor that I've learned all of this from, was able to heal bone spurs in her feet because she knows how to turn on her body's human growth hormone response. Acetone is produced when acetoacetic acid and beta hydroxybutyrate are produced. Acetone heals the bone. It removes plaque from the blood vessels. Don't drink it. Like fingernail polish remover, don't drink it, but your body produces it in the appropriate amount, the right ratio to clean all of that stuff out. Um, let's see. All right. When we refrain from eating carbohydrates, swelling subsides, cognition sharpens, and joint pain eases. I've had my own experience with that. If I eat a bunch of fruit, this isn't even like Snickers bars, candy dough, cookie dough, ice cream, and it's not even that. It's like a bunch of grapes. If I eat a bunch of grapes and I've done a lot of massages, my hands, my wrists, my thumbs start to they're hydrated. They get a little bit swollen and it becomes very uncomfortable. So I'm able to see over like learning about all of this over the past year and a little bit more, I've been able to identify some of these signals that my body gives me. And then I know what to do about it instead of just like, I don't take Tylenol, but like instead, I know a lot of people take those little over the counter medications and like I don't have to take any of those because I know how to get things back under control. Um, so if you never clean up your fat cells, okay, wait, the longer you practice this, the deeper you are able to clean. You are able to recycle your cholesterol. The production of human growth hormone allows you to produce new white and red blood cells. White blood cells repair you, they fight infection, they deal with inflammation. Red blood cells transport oxygen to your cells for mitochondrial function. Mitochondrial function is incredibly important. I feel like there's like an upswing of people caring about their mitochondrial health, and that's amazing. Um, if you never clean up your fat cells, your body will not be able to produce healthy, efficient red and white blood cells. This makes it difficult for you to repair yourself, to fight infections, to deal with inflammation. Our cells need oxygen for mitochondrial function. Mitochondrial function is essential for a large number of physiological processes that must be carried out regularly, like if you want to work optimally. So this is having energy to go about your day, as well as energy for your cells to all do all of their jobs. This helps with metabolic regulation. It helps with cell signaling and apoptosis. There's that word again, eliminating damaged cells and cancer cells. One of the reasons that cancer is such a problem is because those cancer cells lose the ability to engage in apoptosis. So they never die. They just keep producing. That's why you get tumors. Mitochondrial health helps with calcium regulation, with free radical regulation, with neurological function and immune system support. So all of that is super important. Um, Timing is a big deal. Eating before sunset is a huge deal. And it can be really hard if you have a really souped up social calendar. It can be really hard to pull that off on a regular basis. Um, it's best to time your meal with the sunset. You don't want to eat too much later after sunset. Um, Sunset, if you see it with your eyes, you witness it like you're outside or you can see it somehow. We should be outside during sunset and sunrise because that light, the frequency of the light, it's a lot of red light at the end of the day and at the beginning of the day. That lets our body know that it's time to wind down. We don't need to make any more stress hormones. We can stop producing cortisol and start producing melatonin. So if you're eating dinner after it's dark out, your body has already started producing melatonin, maybe if you haven't been watching screens all day. Um, and then you consume your meal and you hop right into bed afterwards. You're not sleeping, you're digesting. Your body isn't able to go into deep sleep because it has to deal with all the food that you just dumped into your stomach. So if you time your meal right around sunset, then you'll have a little bit of time after eating to digest some of that food, and then your body can rest a little bit more deeply. And when you get into deep sleep, is when autophagy and apoptosis can happen. It's when you can mend and heal and repair things um, that need to be repaired. And if you're not getting deep sleep, then I don't know when that's going to happen for you, sweetheart. Um, Eating before sunset plays a crucial role in optimizing these processes. When we finish eating earlier in the day, the body has time to digest food before sleep. It can prioritize fat burning and cellular repair overnight. And growth hormone is released, triggering that deep cleansing, immune system renewal, and metabolic balance. Another thing, so we touched on eating at appropriate times. And then the light thing comes back into play all over again. Light is really important. So if you had your dinner, it's dark out, and then you turn on the TV, or you sit and play on your phone for an hour or whatever before you go to bed, that's blue light. When in the day is there blue light? It's highest at noon. So the light coming into your eyes is telling your body it's still midday. Like we still have things to worry about. Like make some more cortisol. There's no time for melatonin right now. We're not going to make any of that because the cortisol is telling us to keep going. So even then taking melatonin is kind of rendered useless if you're not taking it at the right time and you're still doing all the screen stuff and you had your late dinner because you still have cortisol. When you eat dinner, back to the food thing, before you go to bed, your metabolism starts going and that elevates your heart rate very slightly. If your heart rate doesn't drop in the first, like before midnight, it's really hard to get your body into an adequate amount of deep sleep, which again is when all that repair happens. Um, let's see what else we've got. Hmm. Like I said, I've been studying this for a couple years, so I made a bunch of notes so I could share this information with my parents because they were curious. And I didn't want to just, I wanted them to understand. So I did my best to get it all out super, super simple. Um, let's come back to it's important to make eating before sunset a big priority. Eating before sunset ensures you can digest your food before you go to bed. Then your body can repair, dump fat stores with all those free radicals and poisons and toxins while you're asleep and your muscles are paralyzed. That's why deep sleep is when this happens, because your muscles are paralyzed. After you process the glucose and protein from your meal, you start to release glycogen and then glucagon and triglycerides, which is dumping all those fatty acids to your liver, which remember encourages your body to produce beta hydroxybutyrate, um, acetoacetic acid, and then the human growth hormone. The human growth hormone, um, yeah, that's important. When you clean up your fat cells, you can correct your insulin and leptin levels. You can correct hormone levels and hormone function. There's a lot of young women that are being told that they're like premenopause and perimenopause, and that's not normal. It's your body is letting you know that your hormones are out of whack. Something needs to be done to fix them. Human growth hormone can help heal bone and muscle if you have enough of it. It can help with sleep apnea, that big tongue that makes it so like you're congested at nighttime and you kind of like choke on your breath. Congestion around the nose decreases. Leukemia, lymphoma, scary things like that can start to correct themselves because your cells can dump out those cancerous cells that don't have the ability to do apoptosis and die on their own. This helps MS, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's can all um, they can be benefited because it reduces the swelling around the nerve cells. Human growth hormone then helps to repair the nerves through neurogenesis. Immune system is reset with production of new white blood cells, decreased allergies, decreased inflammation, decreased infection. As your mind and body becomes more familiar with entering ketosis, you can begin to experiment with how many carbs you can handle and still wake up in a state of ketosis. How many carbs you can handle over the weekend and then switch back to ketosis on Monday. As familiarity increases, it will be easier to tell when you're in ketosis compared to how it feels when you're not. Ketosis is not meant to be practiced all the time. Think back to our ancestors, how they lived. They, like most people with white skin, came from a cold place. And our ancestors in the wintertime didn't have access to fruits and vegetables. Maybe they had some root stuff, that they saved. Maybe they had some like seeds and nuts and that kind of thing, but they were mainly eating like animal fats and salted meats and things like that. So we can look to them for some wisdom. We don't have to live this way all year long, but it helps us to see why we evolved the way we did. In winter, there is less available. Not anymore. You can go to the grocery store and get whatever you want whenever you want. But our bodies evolved to have a little bit more scarcity in the winter. We're not supposed to have as many carbs in the winter. And then we can get into the ketosis. We can clean things out. We can heal. We can mend. We can repair. We can rebalance our hormones. We can do all of that stuff in the winter when scarcity is a little bit more of a thing. And then summer, everything grows back up. We can eat our fruits and vegetables with the season as they grow locally. We can, animals are making more animals. They're laying more eggs. They're doing that. So we can just, it's more abundant. So, but if we live in that abundance all year long, our body doesn't have an opportunity to clean. So the result is young women with inappropriate hormone levels going into menopause early, young women starting their periods early. Like that is so, it's scary. I think it gets younger and younger just all the time. Um, Men with their testosterone, like all these men that are on testosterone replacement therapy, if you're not making, like, if you're taking it, you're not making it. And your body is perfectly capable of making it. It's just that we forgot how to live in harmony with like nature. We are nature. We can't escape that. So this kind of practice, thinking back to what our ancestors did, understanding the effects that it had on their bodies and like why were they doing that? We can learn how to fix our own problems. It's amazing. Let me see. I think that is I think we're all caught up. So, how do you get into ketosis? That's a really good question. What does ketosis mean? There's the keto diet is like, it's so loud. People say that you're eating keto and they assume um, that they know. And it's not. The keto diet and being in a ketogenic state are very different. You could eat the keto diet all day and not get into a ketogenic state because you don't know how to measure that. I know how to measure that. You can get, I recommend getting one of those pokey things that measures your glucose and your ketones. It's more accurate than your breath or your urine. So it really doesn't hurt that much. I use a Keto Mojo. I'll put a link for that below, but it will tell you if you're in ketosis or not based on your blood. And that's so cool, I think. And then you can start to see how different foods affect your blood sugar. And you can start to see how, like, in May, I went on a small little road trip with one of my besties and ate a bunch of clean, vegan-y type food. When I got home from that 2 or 3 day trip, and by like vegan-y food, I mean like granola bars and like fruit bars and Stuff like that. It looks very clean. It's only got three ingredients like apple, sweet potato, cinnamon. My blood sugar was insane when I got back home from that trip. And I could feel it. I could feel it in my brain. It felt so foggy and cloudy. So a lot of this is just learning how to listen to your body again, learning how to understand the ripple effects of your actions and what that does. Um, so that can help you figure out if you're in ketosis. I'll include a little document with kind of a step-by-step how to. You can do a fast. You can start with a fast. That's kind of the most uncomfortable. Just fast until you're in a ketogenic state. If your leptin is super high, then that could take days. It could take a week. It could take a little while to get your body into a ketogenic state. Um, you could also just kind of start removing, like one meal at a time, taking out carbs, fruits, sugars, like grains, vegetables, anything that's not a fat or a protein. When you play with the ketogenic experience, your focus is on fat. It is not on protein. That is one of the differences between the carnivore diet and the keto diet. There's a huge emphasis on fat in keto. So you could start replacing out proteins and sugars for fats if you want to do it a little bit more slow, a little bit more measured. There is a product that I really like. I've been using it for probably 6 months-ish. It is called Ketone IQ. This is liquid ketones. So you can take this, it's just 2 ounces, you shoot it back, and it delivers 10 grams of ketones or something like that to your bloodstream. And when there's ketones in your bloodstream, it dumps the glucose to your liver. Your liver is like, oh, we're going to use fat for fuel. So it starts producing the acetoacetic acid, the hydroxybutyrate, beta hydroxybutyrate, and it can just help you. But even this, like you have to understand all of that stuff before you can like really optimally figure out how to use this. But it can be helpful for getting into ketosis. If you want to learn more about it, if you want to talk about how like when you should take stuff like this, let me know. I'd be happy to talk with you about that. I do have a link that will save you 30% for that, and I'll put that below as well. Um, while ancient wisdom is powerful, modern science offers tools to help us optimize our fasting practice. Again, you don't need a single product. You don't need this. You don't need a red light. You don't need anything. You just need to understand how these processes work. But this is just, it makes it really easy. It makes it a more comfortable process instead of like going through, like the fasting flu or the detox flu. Um, this is something even the US military has invested in for cognitive and physical performance, particularly for soldiers recovering from brain injuries, because it helps your body heal so much faster. The military literally uses this for its soldiers to help them heal faster. And I just don't think that the US military would waste their money on something stupid. So they do have some cool science on their website. You'll be able to find that from the link below, or if you search at Ketone IQ. Pairing Ketone IQ with activated charcoal, not at the same time, but just at doing both as you work to get your body in ketosis, um, can further help support detoxification. It can make some of those fasting symptoms a little bit more palatable. Um, Charcoal binds to toxins and helps your body to eliminate them more efficiently. There are even studies of people taking like a lethal dose of arsenic and then following it with activated charcoal, and they don't die. They don't have any symptoms really because it all binds to the charcoal. Um, Fasting is not about deprivation, it's about renewal. It's not about starving yourself either. Like, don't do that. I did that. And it took me a really long time to get, I guess a year isn't that long, but like, my gosh, it took a while to get everything sorted out and really understand and start to implement. And if you are curious about it, if you enjoyed learning about it, I would follow Dr. Courtney Hunt on Instagram and watch her go live every day. She will talk about this stuff and bringing in new angles. And I think she's super brilliant. She is very blunt and very direct, and that really rubs a lot of people the wrong way. She can seem like she's being mean. I really like that. I like the directness. I think it's refreshing as hell. Like, none of this like pussyfooting around things. Like, she just says it, and I love that about her. So check her out. Um, we are in the season of Lent. Like, we're in it right now. So this is a good time to be thinking about some of these topics. So thinking about giving your body a space to heal, to reset, to prepare for the abundance that is coming with the next season of spring, whether it's through Lent, through Ramadan, through personal fasting practices. We have Venus retrograde right now for 40 days and 40 nights. That would be a really a good practice to engage in for that. We can honor the wisdom of our ancestors while using modern knowledge to enhance our connection with our bodies. So this spring, consider reclaiming this tradition in a way that aligns with your life. Fast, cleanse, prepare to receive the season's bounty with a body and mind that are truly ready. For those that are interested, I've linked resources below for Ketone IQ and activated charcoal to help support your journey. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being curious. I hope your curiosity continues. And again, I am not a specialist. I'm just passionate about learning. I want to know how this body of mine works so I know how to take care of it. I don't have to rely on anyone else to tell me what to do. I want to know what to do. I want to be the one that is in my body and is like, I feel this and this and this, and then know what to do with that information. So let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for listening. Have a good rest of your day. Happy spring.